first story, we go to Antigua. Prime Minister says Antigua seems to be alone in plans for a new LIAT. Story courtesy of Caribbean.lootnews.com. Antigua and Barbuda Prime Minister Gaston Brown says the island seems to be on its own with regard to the establishment of a new company to replace LIAT in 1974 Limited, which collapsed in 2020. The Antigua-based LIAT 1974 Limited entered into administration in July 2020 following increased debt and the impact of the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. The airline is owned by the governments of Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, Dominica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. A downsized version of the carrier has been operating a reduced schedule with a limited workforce since November 2020. But Brown said he now recognizes that Antigua and Barbuda is practically standing alone in terms of having an entity that is owned by a group of governments. What seems to be the prevailing thinking at this time is that most heads are of the view that these are sufficient assets within the region. In fact, there is a study that was done by the Caribbean Development Bank as well as the OECS, Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, and that was the meeting I attended in St. Lucia, and the consensus was that there are sufficient assets to service the region. Brown said that there are primarily private sector held assets, and they don't see the need for the governments to invest in any national airline or regional airline. Last month, Caribbean Community CARICOM leaders ended their 44th regular summit in the Bahamas, nowhere closer to solving the woes being experienced by regional travelers following the collapse of the intra-regional airline LIAT in 2020. This is such a shame, that we can't appreciate our own. And it's so, yesterday when I was reading the story, was it yesterday or Monday? Can't remember, but I was reading the story about, was it United Airlines or Delta making flights, increasing their flights to the Caribbean, specifically to Jamaica. And as I was reading the story, I'm saying to myself, if Jamaica has shares, they are stakeholders in Caribbean Airlines, why aren't we capitalizing on that? Meaning, why is it that we're not increasing flights from these regions to bring into the Caribbean? Why don't we have first dibs on that? Shouldn't the goal be to build up the regional airline? That should be the goal. Instead, we have other stakeholders making bank in the Caribbean. Or how about we have a joint, we can share the flights, meaning there's some, depending on where you're coming from and depending on where you're going, you have to change flights, right? So why? Okay, let's say you come to Miami and then you take Caribbean Airways from Miami into the Caribbean. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. So forgive me. But I'm trying to think what would make the most business sense. And the truth of the matter is that I don't have info as it relates to logistics and feasibility. I don't have a feasibility study. That's what I'm looking for. So I guess I'm just rambling, and hoping and wishing to see improvement within our region and the economics of our airlines. Because if we're not careful, very soon we don't have any regional carriers whatsoever. All right, so just my thoughts. All right. Barbados, here we come. You're up next. Barbados to establish an embassy in Ireland. Story courtesy of Barbados.lootnews.com. Barbados is expanding its diplomatic footprint to Ireland. Senior Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Kerry Simmons, announced on Monday in the House of Assembly that during the new financial year, the government will be opening an embassy in Ireland. This will be a welcomed addition to the 14 embassies and 3 consulate generals Barbados has worldwide. Simmons asserted that Barbados needed to forge new relationships beyond North America and Europe and create new missions to foster trade partnerships and investment opportunities. Good, good, good. That's good to hear, Barbados, because we have become so reliant and think that the US is the only place. All right. Grenada. Grenada announces electricity subsidy for low income households, and it will be implemented for the next 12 months. Story courtesy of Caribbean.loopnews.com. The Grenada government on Tuesday said more than 21,000 low income households are to benefit from lower electricity rates as it implements its EC $10, which is one EC dollar is the equivalent of 37 cents US, and that subsidy is for the next 12 months. In a statement, the government said the customers will begin to see the subsidy on their February bills from the Grenada Electricity Services Limited, GrenLec, and that the relief measure forms part of its efforts to ease the cost of living expenses for citizens. You know what? Let me clap it up to I gotta give it to Grenada for looking out for its citizens, in particular low income households. I think that is something many countries can embark and take a page out of Grenada's book, right? Because it's tough for some people. And then I think by doing that also, you're mitigating the issues when it comes to people stealing electricity, right? And people go that route. I honestly don't think it's because that's what they want to do, but when they think about the cost of electricity, and when you get that bill, even when the light goes more than it's on, right? When there's load shedding, your bill ain't moving, right? My mom jokes and says she pretty much down to next thing she going to do is just turn off every light in the house and use what they call a tilly lamp. Because no matter what, the light bill just ain't moving. It's the same amount. And even though you have switched out and for years we've been using fluorescent, it's like nothing, you know. So, ay, ay, ay. Yeah, good for you, Grenada. Good for you. And share that information with the rest of the world, especially the Caribbean. All right. That's how you take care of your folks, at least for the next 12 months. All right. Trinidad and Tobago, Scotiabank records its highest annual growth rate. Story courtesy of ttloopnews.com. Scotiabank Trinidad and Tobago Limited, the group, has recorded its highest annual growth rates it has ever achieved, netting loan growth of $1.6 billion while maintaining good credit quality. Speaking at the bank's AGM held at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Port of Spain on Tuesday, Derek Hudson, chairman of Scotia Trinidad and Tobago, shared the bank's financial results for fiscal 2022. He said, one of the main highlights is the overall growth of 10%, with solid growth from our business lines, retail banking at 9% and commercial banking at 16%. The bank also realized income after tax of $189 million for the quarter ended January 31st, 2023. This represents an increase of $4 million or 2% over the comparable 2022 period. According to the bank, the improvement in profitability has resulted in an increased return on equity from 17.27% to 17.35% as at January 31st, 2023. Next up, we head on over to Jamaica. Yeah, this one is getting pretty interesting. British forensic firm Kroll Associates UK joins the SSL probe. Jamaica.loopnews.com is reporting Finance and Public Service Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the government has engaged the services of Kroll Associates UK to assist with the forensic probe into the multi-million-dollar fraud at investment firm Stocks and Securities Limited, SSL. Clark made the announcement a short while ago during that was yesterday, I should say, during his opening presentation of the 2023-2024 budget debate. Arising from, writing to, and collaborating with the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office of the UK, this morning I signed a statement of work with Kroll Associates UK, he said. He highlighted that Kroll Associates, the British subsidiary of the multinational risk and financial advisor firm, He said, we will provide forensic, I'm sorry, Kroll Associates said, we will provide forensic audit investigative services to the Financial Investigative Division in its probe of the SSL matter. So I thought the FBI was enough. They really need Kroll Associates too. So this is bigger than we thought. Oh my. Wow. G-Nan, girl, you bad. You really bad. She remind I'm here thinking about the movie Salt and Angeline Jolie. That's her name, Angelie or Angeline?
Angelina.
Angelina Jolie. Thank you, Javette. I'm thinking about that movie Salt, right? Where they need so many forces. They needed so many forces to take her down. Wow, go on with your bad self, G-Nan. Write a book and send me that book. Let me see what I can do. The only thing is that I'm gonna try to not get caught. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me, folks. Don't listen to me. Yeah, so they're saying that Kroll will bring leading edge technology which will support the FID in unraveling all aspects of this 13-year fraud and bring co-conspirators and accomplices to justice. And I have to agree that I don't think she was doing this alone. I think we all established that, right? She, unfortunately, is the face of the ring. Unfortunately, right? Every group has a leader or someone that you put to the forefront to represent the group, right? So yeah, I'm interested to know who else is involved in this with her. All right. The minister also shared that the British government, which he noted has long supported the FID, has offered to cover some of the initial cost of the engagement, with the Jamaican government covering the balance. So we, the taxpayers of Jamaica, have to fund this investigation. Is that fair to the taxpayers of Jamaica? Shouldn't this be funded by SSL? It's their company. It was under their watch that this happened. Why is it that taxpayers have to foot this bill? I didn't have any money invested in SSL. Them I can barely find two quarters to rub together. But the thing is, why are taxpayers being stuck with a bill? Because you're saying the Jamaican government. Where does the Jamaican government get the money from? Taxes, right? It's not as though it's a private company. I would like to know why. Why not SSL? If the British government wants to partake, that's fine. But don't take, we can hardly manage already. Come on now, do a little better. But anyway, yeah, so of course we all know by now that the wealth advisor Jean-Ann Panton has been arrested and charged in relation to the fraud. She remains behind bars, having been denied bail on 2 occasions.